Who softened the fall? Imagine a mother sitting in a car, camera on, explaining how driving to visit her son in prison is crushing her. She talks about the humiliation, the strip searches, the emotional weight of seeing her child behind bars. But something else is happening at the same time. She's still going, still driving, still participating in the very situation she says is crushing her. And that contradiction opens a much deeper question, not just about prison, but about patterns, responsibility, and the quiet systems families create without realizing it. There is something revealing about this moment. Not just the tears, not just the prison visit, but the story being told around it. The video says, "Driving to visit my son in prison is crushing me." That word is doing a lot of work, because when something truly crushes a person, it disables them. Crushing means being broken, compressed, unable to function under the weight of something overwhelming. If a building collapses and someone is crushed underneath it, they are not filming TikTok videos. They are not adjusting camera angles. They are not choosing emojis or writing captions. So the language itself tells us something important. The pain is real, but the interpretation of the pain is dramatized. And that dramatization reveals a deeper dynamic. What we're watching isn't just grief. We're watching a pattern. The mother says the situation is unbearable. She says it's humiliating. She says she hates the process. She doesn't want to be strip-searched. She doesn't want to see her child behind bars. Yet she continues doing the exact thing she claims is crushing her. That contradiction matters, because it raises a question most people are uncomfortable asking. If it is truly unbearable, why keep doing it? Now, before people jump to the obvious answer, because she loves her son, pause for a moment. Love doesn't automatically mean enabling every circumstance around someone. Love can show up in many forms. Sometimes love comforts. Sometimes love confronts. Sometimes love steps back so another person can face the consequences of their decisions. But in many families, another pattern emerges. Support becomes automatic. And automatic support can quietly remove the weight of consequences. Think about what the son likely knows. He knows his mother will visit. He knows she will put money on his books. He knows she will help with the children if he has them. He knows the family will rally around him emotionally. None of that makes him evil. None of that makes the mother foolish. It simply means a system has formed. And systems shape behavior. When someone grows up inside a system where someone else always absorbs the shockwaves of their decisions, they learn something powerful, even if no one ever says it out loud. They learn that the fall will be cushioned. This doesn't mean the son deliberately planned to hurt his family. Human behavior is rarely that calculated. But people internalize patterns early in life. They observe how problems are handled. They notice who steps in to rescue whom. Children learn from what adults do far more than from what adults say. So when the mother says, "Do these kids realize what they're doing to their families?" the question may need to turn slightly inward. What system existed before the prison sentence? What patterns were modeled? What boundaries existed or didn't exist? Again, this is not about blaming parents for everything that happens to their children. Life is complicated. Friends, environment, economics, culture, and personal choices all play roles. But the idea that a parent has no influence over the relational dynamics between them and their child isn't true either. If someone grows up knowing that no matter how serious the mistake, someone will step in to soften the consequences, the lesson becomes embedded over time. Responsibility becomes negotiable. And here is where the emotional contradiction becomes visible in the video. The mother says the situation is crushing her. Yet the same video shows she is capable of filming herself, explaining the situation, and sharing it publicly. That doesn't make her dishonest. It makes her human. People often perform their suffering because suffering is one of the most socially validated emotions. When someone says they are hurting, they receive sympathy, affirmation, and support. But sometimes, the performance of pain distracts from the deeper question. What role does each person play in maintaining the system that created the problem? If someone is truly crushed by a situation, they usually start re-evaluating the patterns that keep producing that pain. They begin asking difficult questions about boundaries, responsibility, and change. Instead, many people stay inside the cycle. They keep doing the same actions while repeating the same complaint. I hate this. I don't want to do this. This is destroying me. Yet the behavior continues. Why? Because stepping outside the pattern requires confronting uncomfortable truths. It requires acknowledging that participation in the system may be voluntary, even when the emotions surrounding it are not. The son made choices that led him to prison. That responsibility belongs to him. But the emotional system surrounding that choice belongs to the family. And sometimes, the hardest realization is that love without boundaries can unintentionally reinforce the very behaviors people claim to oppose. If someone knows their family will carry the emotional and logistical weight of their mistakes indefinitely, the urgency to change can become diluted. This doesn't mean families should abandon each other. It means support must sometimes be paired with clarity. Clarity says, "I love you, but I will not absorb every consequence of your decisions." Clarity says, "I will stand beside you emotionally, but I will not rearrange my entire life to soften the reality you created." Clarity says, "Your choices are yours." Without that clarity, everyone becomes trapped. The son sits behind bars. The mother sits outside the prison, telling the world she feels crushed. But both remain inside the same psychological loop. The real transformation begins when someone steps outside the script and asks a question that rarely appears on social media. What patterns created this moment long before the prison sentence happened? Because prison sentences rarely begin in courtrooms. They begin in years of thinking, reacting, enabling, excusing, and repeating behaviors that slowly build a path toward consequences. Breaking that cycle doesn't come from dramatic captions or emotional videos. It comes from honest reflection about the systems people participate in, even when those systems are wrapped in love. And sometimes, the most powerful form of love isn't rescuing someone from the weight of their decisions. Sometimes, it's allowing that weight to finally be felt. And somewhere between the prison gates and the car parked outside them sits the quiet truth most people never ask aloud. Not why the fall happened, but who kept placing the cushion underneath it.